Some builds we want to make the most powerful character possible, and other builds we want to do something extremely goofy. This is one such build. Today I'm going to be building a Kobold who specializes in heavy weapons. This was a concept build given to us by one of our amazing viewers, Louise K. So let's talk about the character concept we're going for. I love the idea of an old Kobold. Kobolds die so fast, you really have a hard time to get them to be old. They mature at like age 6, so really someone who's old to them can be like 30. So I really like the idea of this being an old Kobold who's really just kind of middle-aged, but he acts all wise and he acts all stately. I kind of see him as a goofy comedic knight. Because of that, I want to take the noble background. The noble background gives us 3 retainers, and we're going to be using a heavy weapon. Kobolds generally cannot use heavy weapons. They're a small size, and they're restricted from using heavy weapons. So for most of the time, we have to just be walking around with our 3 retainers, all with their hands up, holding our actual weapon. I really like how it all comes together. It's a really comedic character, and I think it would be really fun to play. Well, how are we going to pull this build off? As for our stats, our primary is going to be strength, our secondary is going to be constitution, and our tertiary is going to be wisdom for those saves. As for our leveling structure, we're going to be going 20 levels into Rune Knight. Now, in between levels 1 and 2, we have no way of using our heavy weapon. So I'm going to be having the retainers carry it still, and our character looks at it with longing eyes, just wanting to use this weapon, but not knowing how. I think something where it's been passed down from generation to generation would be really fun. And I also like the idea that this great weapon that they're carrying is actually kind of a piece of crap. It's just like a standard base normal greatsword, but they treat it like it's special. Then, during these 2 levels, he's going to be having a longsword, which he's going to be wielding with 2 hands. And I want this longsword to be kind of nice and actually be really fancy looking, but he treats it like it's a piece of garbage because it's just not big enough. It's pathetic. And I like the idea that he has a lot of disdain for the special sword, but has a lot of reverence for the basic sword. We're going to be rocking heavy armor because we're strength and not dexterity, but that first level we're going to get a fighting style, and I want to pick up the great weapon fighting style. It's kind of neat about this fighting style is it just requires you to be using a weapon two-handed to get the benefits from it. So a long sword that we're holding with 2 hands works just fine, but once we eventually get to the great sword, there it is. I understand it's not the most efficient fighting style we could pick up, but it's like everything I do wants to lean into this using that great sword as much as possible, so I'm going to pick up that fighting style. Consequences be damned. Now once we hit level 2, we're going to get Action Surge, and this build actually has a lot of synergy with Action Surge because we have Draconic Cry. Draconic Cry is a Kobold ability where we use our bonus action in order to make the enemies around us be attacked at advantage by our whole team for the whole turn. So this is great with Action Surge because we're going to get more advantage attacks by stacking them together, so keep that in mind. Now since we're talking about what Kobold brings us, Kobold also has an option of giving you either a cantrip, some skills, or Defiance, which I'm taking here. Defiance, it gives us advantage against frightened checks. Now frightened is a condition that martials hate, especially melee ones, so I think it's really great here, and I also think it really goes along with this kind of haughty noble knight motif I'm going for, so I really like Defiance with this build. Now this build really begins at level 3. At level 3 we go into Rune Knight, which gives us Giant's Might. Giant's Might allows us to get large, which means we are big enough to use a great weapon now, so we reach back and lift it off of our retainer's shoulders and begin getting in combat, joyfully cleaving our enemies as we get to unleash our true weapon on our enemies. I really like it. I think it's a lot of fun. Something else here is Giant's Might also gives us an extra d6 of damage once per turn, and it's considered your weapon's damage. So I believe, although I think some DMs might disagree with me, I believe this works with our great weapon fighting style. So now that we attack, we roll 3d6. If any of those are 1 or 2, I believe they can be re-rolled. We also get runes here. Runes are fantastic, but they're really not that important for the build, so go with ones you would enjoy. Personally, I'm looking at the Cloud Rune and I'm looking at the Fire Rune. At level 4, we're going to be making a flavor choice. We're picking up the Great Weapon Master feat. Now, I understand we're not going to always be using a great weapon, but this is truly a great weapon master. No one appreciates great weapons like this guy, so he has to be a great weapon master. Something pretty neat here is that Great Weapon Master synergizes absolutely fantastic with Draconic Cry. Draconic Cry was balanced in such a way that it wouldn't work with Sharpshooter or Great Weapon Master without us jumping through a couple hoops first. Becoming Huge is one such hoop. Now we can attack at advantage with Great Weapon Master. Next level we get extra attack and we get Action Surge on top of that. That is a ton of damage in 1 turn. Awesome. And that's the gist of this build. We're going to keep going into Fighter, getting more Rune Knight things, getting better runes, but the more important thing is we're getting just extra attacks as a fighter, so we can do the same action surge combo with 6 Great Weapon Master attacks at advantage, and eventually 8 Great Weapon Master attacks at advantage. I think it comes together to just be a ton of fun. Now, as for our defenses, we have heavy armor, so we're going to have solid AC. As for our wisdom saves, we invested into wisdom. We have resistance to frightened conditions. We have indomitable, so overall our save defense is quite good. When it comes to range, we have javelins for mid-range and absolutely nothing for long range, so there's our weakness. But overall, I think this is less about having a super complicated, powerful build and more about having a character build that's a ton of fun. Thank you again, Louise, for your awesome suggestion. I had a lot of fun with this. If you guys have some suggestions, feel free to throw them in the comments down below. I'd love to read through them. I also want to give a shout out to our Patreon Fledgling. Fledgling has been supporting this channel since basically the beginning and is an absolute ally to the channel. Thank you so much, my man. I'm going to leave you guys with a question. I want to do a new series that's focused on dungeon masters. I want to help some dungeon masters out. So what I want you guys to answer is, what series of videos would be super useful to you as a dungeon master? Let me know in the comments down below. And while you're down there, if you see any ideas that you think are awesome, make sure to like them so I can see which ones come higher to the top. But with that, my friends, I hope you have yourselves an incredible day, and I'll catch you on the next one. See you then.